You.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, hi everyone. Thank you for joining today. I'm really glad that you could make the time. This is a topic that I'm super passionate about because every day I see how disconnected project data is creating risk, frustration, and just wasted effort for our owners and developers. Whether you're managing just one capital project or a whole portfolio, you've probably experienced what happens when information gets lost between just different systems and teams. The goal for today is to show you how to move from reactive project management to proactive control of your projects. We can achieve that by connecting our data and making it actually work for us from concept all the way through to operations. We'll spend about 30 to 45 minutes together on content with some extra time built in at the end for that Q&A. Feel free to drop those questions in the chat as we go. Lori and I will circle back to them later. This session is, of course, being recorded and will be sent to all attendees, so feel free to share it out to your team as needed. For those of you I haven't met just yet, I am Danielle Lucas, a construction engagement engineer here at IMAGINiT Technologies with a specialization in pre-construction. My professional background is in construction management and technology adoption. I've spent my career working for and with owners, developers, GCs, architects, engineers, and our subcontractors, while also helping project teams connect the dots between design, construction, and their operations. Here at IMAGINiT, our focus isn't just developing tech solutions or delivering partner software. We help organizations get real value from their technology through consulting, implementation, training, and support. So I work with owners, developers, and design teams every week who have been asking me the same question. How do we get control of our project data? Today, we're going to talk about what's standing in the way, what that might be costing you, and how IMAGINiT, through solutions like Clarity and even Autodesk's connected platforms, help you turn that data into a real strategic advantage. I've added the agenda here for today's session. As you can see, we have lots of goodies to get through, but our roadmap for today is that we will start with the big industry challenges that we're all facing. Then we'll talk about what disconnected data really costs beyond just dollars and take a peek into a disconnected project versus a connected project. Next, we'll look at the shift that's happening with owners and developers just taking control of their data strategy. We'll explore how BIM becomes that single source of truth that connects everybody and how to approach digital handover. And I'll also share what IMAGINiT brings to the table in your tech journey and finish out with some key takeaways and that allotted time for Q&A. Alrighty, I think we can go ahead and get started. So this here is basically a representation of that exact moment you realize your project is just swimming in data and yet it's starved for insight. That information all exists, it's just not connected in any way. Capital projects are more complex than ever. We have more data, more people, more systems, and even tighter timelines. The problem is that all of that data often lives in silos. So your architect's model is in one place, the contractor's documents are in another, and the owner's spreadsheets are somewhere else entirely. By the time a project is wrapping up, so much information has been lost, duplicated, or recreated that it's almost impossible to trust what you're looking at. On top of that, risks just seem to multiply like gremlins that got fed after midnight. So whether it's budget overruns or schedule delays or unexpected quality issues, owners are frequently reacting instead of doing what they know best, which is leading. I've gone ahead and picked out some of my top challenges that I hear about and see when visibility is lacking. Information is just really spread across multiple stakeholders, which could be design teams, contractors, or consultants, and they're all using their very own systems. By the time that these updates reach you, they're often outdated and they're pretty much just old news. So when you don't have those real-time insights, owners can really only react after these problems surface, which usually then means, unfortunately, cost or schedule impacts. Next, as we know, owners carry the ultimate financial and reputational risk, yet they often have the least direct line of sight into the actual project execution. The final main concern we'll talk about is, again, communication silos. Different stakeholders are not always aligned. So misunderstandings or missing details will lead to those change orders, disputes, and delays. I was recently talking with a facility manager who mentioned they often don't even know about critical issues until they're literally boots on the ground walking through the site. That lag between what's happening in the field and what the owner knows about creates enormous risk. So these challenges aren't new, of course, but they are becoming more costly as our projects get larger, timelines shrink down, and sustainability expectations just increase. What are the costs of us experiencing these challenges today? When data is disconnected, owners lose that ability to make very informed decisions in real time. So those financial consequences just grow and grow. And with that, according to multiple industry studies, a majority of our large capital projects exceed their original budgets by 20 to 45%. A major contributor of that figure alone is rework that's caused by poor communication or even just incomplete information. When it comes to that strategy, it's just a lost opportunity. Disconnected data keeps owners reactive instead of being in that proactive space. You're not able to plan ahead, analyze trends, or make informed portfolio decisions without clean, connected information. Those delayed insights create compounding lasting effects as well. A missed clash in design, for example, it might not surface until construction, which is going to end up costing actual weeks of lost time. Operationally, it does increase risk. When you can't track changes or warranty coverage or even your equipment details accurately, you're left quite exposed. Even after construction, missing or inaccurate data at handover is going to create long-term costs for facility management and operations. And I think maybe the most important impact that it has is with trust. Teams will simply stop collaborating effectively when they're each working from their very own truth. Owners are spending millions building facilities, yet they're often receiving disorganized binders or PDFs that don't support the actual operations. That gap between expectations and deliverables is a hidden cost in and of itself. A little bit of quick intel on that. I love a good visualization. A study conducted by FMI and Autodesk in 2022 found that only 55% of construction companies had formal data strategies, and that poor data management alone was costing the industry over 1.8 trillion globally in a single year. And this graphic, it's totally 1.8 trillion. I counted it. You can trust me. So that is the scale of the impact that we're talking about here. So just imagine trying to run a $1 billion facility that has incomplete or outdated information. Every missing piece of data simply adds on cost and time and risk to your projects. All right, a little bit of the fun part. Let's say that you're a developer or an owner rep and you're trying to answer a pretty simple question like, where are we on budget and schedule? You would think that that would take maybe 5 minutes or less, right? Right? But here's what really happens. You can cue the scary music. Just kidding, we don't need to do that. But we're going to take a look at a day in the life of a disconnected project. So you start out, you send a great email to your project manager. Once they're able to get back to you, they're not entirely sure which spreadsheet has the latest numbers because the versions are saved in different folders, or they're just sitting on another team member's computer. They also have to then check in all the separate places to see the status of any RFIs, submittals, or communications they've received via text or email. that would indicate schedule delays or anything impacting the project. So the PM then reaches out to accounting to get those financials. Accounting, super helpful. They're trying to give us the information that we need. They're going to go ahead and send us over a cost report, but it's from 2 weeks ago. And the reason that is because all of their needed updates haven't been received and logged into their system yet. The superintendent offers up that they have some field updates on their phone, but those never made it into the system, so they are not captured anywhere. Thus, in my mind and theirs, they don't exist in a real sense. So 3 long hours later, you've got multiple versions of that same truth, and you still do not know which one is right. This is all avoidable. We're going to go ahead and flip the story. It's going to be the same question, the same project, but this time everything's going to live in Autodesk Construction Cloud. For the purpose of showing the connected project side, we're going to go ahead and take a peek at some of the tools and the dashboards available to us within the platform Autodesk Build. By using something like Autodesk Docs, your collaboration and creation of a common data environment is seamless. You're able to organize and templatize your project files along with advanced permissioning. So you're going to quickly see the number of versions of any given file, which is going to confirm that you're seeing the latest and greatest information at any given time. With 80+ supported file types and unlimited storage and projects, Docs is that powerful platform to stay on the same page with your project teams at all times. You're also able to utilize everyday types of files like Word or Excel, all within this environment, so you're not then bouncing between platforms. Being able to see the version history and then compare those versions quickly is super beneficial. And the items that are stored in Docs are just never deleted. If you archive something, we're always able to bring it back. But in this case, if an oops was made and you need to revert to a previous version, you're all set. You're also going to go ahead and gain insight into seeing your file activities. And that's keeping your finger on the pulse of your information and that who, what, and how of how that information is being shared at all times. Another area that we could explore is how we're communicating regarding the project with our teams, whether that's internal or external. With our correspondence feature, all project-related communications will stay in this central location. I'm able to search and filter because I say this all the time. I, like many of you, are personally victimized by Outlook on a daily basis when I'm searching for emails. So that would be a thing of the past here. Any correspondence that's created within this tool captures those details within your project, and you would also then be able to opt to copy the project email address into just whatever normal email client that you're using. Or, I'm pretty terrible at remembering to do that. So at the end of the day, I could drag and drop my emails here to upload them directly into the project. Your different types of correspondence can be customized to fit your needs. And of course, we have permissions available to make sure that the right folks are seeing the right things and nothing more, nothing less. Diving in and taking a quick look at these dashboards, we're going to observe these simple yet powerful, and by that I mean easy, built-in dashboards. They are a great way to monitor specific projects that you're a member of. The sample shown here illustrates the Insights tool within an Autodesk Build project, and that's giving you crucial information at a glance. You're going to see things like risk, quality, safety, as well as status of outstanding items like issues, RFIs, and submittals. By opening up your build cost dashboard within that same project, you instantly see your approved costs, forecasted spend, and your field progress all in real time. There's no more digging, no chasing, and no guesswork. These dashboards are customizable, and they really just scrape the surface of what detail we can see within a specific project. At this point, you might be saying to yourself, okay, that's great about my project, but I have lots of projects across my portfolio that I need to see. No problem, that's also covered here too. By combining Autodesk Build's Insight Builder with Power BI, the possibilities are broad and it really puts the power in your hands to just harness the data you already have. What you're seeing here and on the next slide are what I consider to be essential dashboards for owners and what we can dub the milestone monitor, which is going to completely upgrade your tracking of schedules, changes, RFIs, and submittal updates. This is done through Insight Builder, which is a powerful tool for creating advanced custom dashboards. While Insight Builder has its own built-in reporting, it's also going to allow users to connect to the ACC platform via the data connector, and it's going to pull info directly into Power BI for a more comprehensive and complex analysis, if that's an approach that you would like to take. Some quick highlights on this dashboard that you're seeing here is that you get a clear view of your project milestones. You're able to track deviations to prevent major disruptions, and you're able to confirm that you're meeting crucial deadlines. We can also highlight any pending costs and unapproved change orders. That's going to help us minimize our financial risk. We get to analyze our change order values here and spot these trends that occur by contractor, which is going to lead to better managing our budgets overall. And then we can monitor our RFI and submittal status. So that's improving visibility and the accountability that's going to reduce risks and maintain control of your project. This snip here that I included allows you just a comprehensive portfolio overview so that you can easily see the status of really your entire portfolio without digging through individual projects. You're able to see things like substantial completion dates, activities progress and percentages, as well as your milestone percentages. Overall, Insight Builder offers several key benefits to your teams and your organization as a whole. You're going to be empowering the business by creating dashboards and not needing to be just full-on data analysts on top of your day-to-day jobs. It makes valuable insights accessible to everybody. This is going to be native data analysis. So you can really forget about costly and complex external BI tools that are pretty restrictive with licensing. Insight Builder just eliminates these obstacles, and they're guaranteeing that the right people are accessing that right data directly in ACC, keeping everything just streamlined and secure. And really speaking on streamlining and the secure data portion, with your streamlined workflow, you're going to keep that workflow within ACC for maximum efficiency. You're not going to have a need to switch between multiple systems with everything in here, all the way from data creation to management, and then you're able to share that all in one single place. When we talk about our secure data management, our data is going to be staying within ACC, meaning that permissions are maintained. And that's going to minimize the risk of unintentionally exposing any sensitive information that doesn't need to be out there. You're also going to see just actionable insights. So Insight Builder is going to allow teams to quickly gain those real-time actionable items that's going to end up driving smarter decisions at both the project and the cross-project levels. Easy to use dashboards enable your teams to move quickly and keep all of your projects on track. So now that we've explored this connected project, let's go ahead and recap and chat about what really changed between these two stories that we just saw. The project or projects didn't just get simpler, and their schedules certainly didn't magically shrink. The change that occurred here was just on how the information flowed. So here we see our disconnected workflow versus our connected. When you centralize your data, whether that's drawings, budgets, or RFIs, you're removing the guessing games. Everybody is working from that same source of truth, so version control issues are going to disappear, and that's the power of Autodesk Construction Cloud, which I use for those examples. You're looking at and always building off of the exact same foundation. Instead of waiting around to get monthly cost reports, you're going to see live commitments, any budget adjustments, and then those change order impacts as they actually happen. That kind of transparency really helps your teams act early and not after the damage is done, which is super helpful. In disconnected projects, PMs and owners often tell and receive two completely different stories. So connected data gives them that shared view, and they're looking into the same things like forecasting, design revisions, and all the other project related items. So everybody is making decisions based on those exact same details. So once you get that level of visibility and that trust, something else begins to happen. Owners begin to take control of their projects and become active leaders of that data. So how and why does that happen? What does that look like? Let's take a gander. This, I think, is the exciting part. Owners are really no longer just waiting for information to trickle down to them. They're going ahead and taking control by setting standards, demanding transparency, and then leading with that data. This shift is really reshaping how projects are delivered. So what is this shift that we're seeing exactly? We're seeing it go from reactive to proactive. Historically, owners probably often felt like passengers by getting reports after the fact and then firefighting to the issues once it was way too late. Today, leading owners are taking that driver's seat, setting their requirements for data, and they're expecting that visibility from day one. We're seeing our owners as leaders and not simply stakeholders. So our owners are realizing that they're not just here to fund projects, they're defining how they're executed. That kind of leadership is driving our contractors, designers, and our operators to align much earlier and share data more effectively, which is very helpful. With our standards and expectations, more and more RFPs today are including explicit BIM and digital handover requirements. So to me, that's like a huge sign of just how seriously owners are taking their role in controlling project outcomes. By setting those expectations early, owners are protecting their investments and they're able to deliver not just a building, but usable data that's reliable and carries into the operations of the building. So the main drivers behind the shift that we're seeing are things like risk management. Owners are accountable for the budgets, schedules, and the quality, no pressure. So being proactive with your data reduces any of that uncertainty that we're facing. Of course, with sustainability and ESG goals to meet, owners are also being asked to prove their performance and the efficiency, and that's over the entire life cycle of all of their assets. And of course, my favorite part in all of this is the tech maturity. So BIM and cloud collaboration tools, they're no longer in the infant stages. They're not rudimentary any longer. Software development has really put forth a ton of effort to bring in those from the industry itself. So what we've seen happen there is that this has resulted in platforms that are more beneficial in terms of exactly how work is actually done. And what I love is that makes tech no longer just a nice to have. It makes these platforms accessible, they're proven, and they're absolutely critical to our success. For a quick example, one of our recent clients, a university system, they were struggling with the transition of construction to ops. They decided to go ahead and do a pilot run, and they required BIM deliverables on a new capital project. The result that they saw was that facility managers went from scrambling at that turnover moment to being able to operate their new buildings from the very first turnover, day one. So this shift obviously can feel overwhelming. Where do you start? What standards should you even be setting? And how exactly do you enforce those standards? Our team here at IMAGINiT is absolutely available to help you translate those goals into just some practical requirements and workflows And we always want to make sure that the tech supports your actual vision instead of it just becoming another burden for you to manage. The foundation of all of this is going to be BIM and creating that single source of truth. And that's going to be something we want to see align with all parties from concept to closeout. So speaking of BIM, let's just go back to the roots. What is it exactly? As this comes up, you're probably seeing the slide and you're sitting there saying, Danielle, I know about BIM. I know what BIM is and I know what it does. True, I'll give you that. I don't think for 1 second that this is the first time you're ever hearing about it. If you are, I feel like everybody owes me $1 or a soda, something. But I do want to go ahead and cover BIM and how committing to it as your single source of truth can really improve your business. The first thing is that BIM is more than just a pretty face. And that's because BIM is not just a 3D model. It is an intelligent, data-rich representation of a building or infrastructure asset. It carries information about geometry, materials, equipment, schedules, costs, and its performance. In other words, it's not just what the building looks like, it's what it's actually made of, how it functions, and how it can be maintained. 3D modeling is really about data and having that single connected source of info that everybody can trust. For instance, with tools in Autodesk's ecosystem like Docs, Build, or Tandem, and then say you paired it with IMAGINIT's automation tool Clarity, BIM then becomes more than just a coordination tool. It becomes your entire project's database. So instead of data living in silos that we've talked about with spreadsheets here and drawings over there and your schedules in just yet another system, BIM is going to bring it all together where owners, contractors, designers, and your facility managers are all going to be working from that exact same data set. When everybody is working off of the same information, there's less duplication of effort, fewer miscommunications, and much more accountability. It then shifts that project culture from the reactive firefighting to proactive coordinating. Having that real-time visibility makes it possible to intervene much earlier, and that's when your changes are going to be less costly, which who doesn't like that? Now, let me ask you a question. Wouldn't we all love to be able to future-proof? The beauty of BIM is that it's not going to end when the project is over. That same model is going to carry forward into operations, and it's going to become a valuable asset for that FM team. This continuity is what makes BIM a true single source of truth from the beginning of concept all the way through the stages to closeout and far beyond. During construction, it's going to link your issues, RFIs, and submittals directly to elements of the model. At handover, it ties every single piece of equipment to actual data, so things like serial numbers, warranty dates, maintenance plans. That means that those facility teams can click on an asset within the model and instantly access its entire history. And that's doing so without any binders and no hunting down PDFs. I was working with a healthcare owner not too long ago who decided to require BIM coordination before construction could even begin. By the time the ground was broken, hundreds of clashes had already been resolved within the digital environment, and approaching it that way brought smoother construction, minimal surprises, and they also saw significant cost savings that came into the real world and not just on the computer. So BIM provides that foundation, but what does that really mean in practice? We're going to next break it down into some of the benefits that you can expect from BIM. I'll ask you to go ahead and hop into a mini time machine for a moment, and we'll connect this back to the challenges we discussed earlier. As an owner, I'm sure that it can feel like you're working in the dark. You're waiting for updates, you're worrying about any upcoming hidden costs, or even just not knowing if what's being built matches what was designed. BIM is able to flip that dynamic, and it takes those blind spots and it turns them into transparency, control, and overall long-term value. So with our visibility, instead of relying on a weekly report or a spreadsheet that's already way out of date, you can view real-time progress inside of that model. You're going to benefit from control. Remember, I'm sure we've all been there, the frustration of discovering major problems only after walls are built. Well, BIM identifies conflicts right up front. That cuts back on your rework, it prevents those spendy delays, and it keeps your project on schedule. Of course, this is not all just about saving money, even though we care about that very much. It's about confidence that your project is going to open on time and be very usable in a meaningful way. We're also going to see a long-term value. The biggest benefit is actually going to show up after construction. With BIM, you're not just getting a building, you're getting a digital model that supports the operations of that building for decades. So your facilities teams can track equipment, plan renovations, and manage energy usage with accurate information. Kind of maybe think about it this way. Traditionally, folks in your positions may have felt like passengers on the project bus. BIM hands you that steering wheel back, and you're no longer really just here for the ride. You're actively driving your own project outcomes. So far, what we've done together today is we've discovered our challenges, we've observed how connected projects work better for everyone involved, and we've implemented BIM. Our project is complete, dream come true, it's on time, under budget, and it's ready to be turned over. So how are things being done today? And how would adopting a digital approach be beneficial? When we talk with anyone in the owner space, one of the biggest frustrations that I'm hearing is about what happens at the end of construction. You've just spent millions on a facility, and the turnover really quite often looks like this. It's a hard drive, a couple of thumb drives, some or many binders, and say 200 gigabytes of PDFs that nobody can make any sense of. Operations teams end up spending months recreating data that already existed, like during the phases of design and construction. We'll go ahead and compare the traditional handover method to the digital one. So data is typically manually gathered from GCs and subs at the end of the project, and you end up with dozens or even, unfortunately, on some projects, hundreds of PDFs, spreadsheets, and then these binders that show up on your doorstep. And all of that to then discover that you're missing as-built information, incomplete equipment data, and then that leads us down the road of a very painful turnover to our facilities team. This can lead to everybody's worst nightmare. The project is done, but the information to operate it is not. So now we're going to leave that scary town and we're going to go over to explore the digital handover side. So if instead of treating handover as a final step, you want to make it a continuous process that is built upon BIM standards that are going to define what data you'll need from that first day. By standardizing model parameters, document naming, and your file structures, owners will get information that is clean, organized, and immediately usable. So setting BIM standards is really all about consistency. These are going to define what data must absolutely be captured for every system, piece of equipment, and deliverable. When contractors and designers work to the exact same standard, you're going to have reliable digital assets and not just a pile of documents. To get those standardized deliverables defined early, the first thing that we could do is to set level of detail or project information requirements and specify that right level of information at the exact right project stage. So you obviously don't need full maintenance details during schematic design, but you definitely need those before handover is complete. Using naming conventions and data structure, it makes sure that equipment, spaces, and systems are going to be tagged in a way that facilities can actually use. With our delivery format, we can define how models and data are packaged. So they're going to end up dropping smoothly into your FM system or even your digital twin. And having all of your project information centralized in a platform like Autodesk Docs that we visited earlier, it avoids having a handover binder that really just sits somewhere and is a doorstop collecting dust, or it just gets lost altogether. Your equipment data can be linked to model elements, as I mentioned, and there's not going to be any more case of the missing details. Overall, you're going to end up and have a true and accurate digital record, making that transition smoother and more efficient. The best part of this is that your investment in BIM, it doesn't end when your building is complete. It's going to be a living asset that reduces your operating costs, and it improves all of those decisions from the beginning all the way through the life cycle of the building. And the best news, I think, here is that this is not an experiment or science fiction. It's how organizations across healthcare, higher ed, and I'd say corporate real estate are achieving today. And this is how they're doing consistent handovers. So with all this said, what can it look like when you put all this together, and where does one even get started? Here's how we can help. As a RAND Worldwide company, IMAGINiT Technologies is able to access and draw upon a really extensive network of best-in-class tech partners and service providers as we need them, and we're then able to meet ever-evolving industry needs. Our goal is to help you take control of your project information and to build a connected environment that supports you in exactly the right ways. So what we're doing is that we assist organizations across North America to connect their people, processes, and their technology. As an Autodesk Platinum partner and a trusted advisor, we deliver much more than software. We deliver solutions that empower your teams to design, build, and manufacture smarter. It's really important to us that you're adopting not just a solution, but the right one for you. Our expertise spans strategy, implementation, training, and support to make sure that you get the maximum ROI from your tech investments. With IMAGINiT Solutions, you're able to bridge that gap between the challenges you face and opportunities that are coming up. So as we roll into our wrap up and our Q&A, I would love to leave you with some key takeaways. So if you remembered even just a couple of things from today, I hope that these would be it. And that would be that disconnected data is one of the biggest risks that we all face, but especially in capital projects. And luckily, it's also one of the easiest ones to fix. BIM is not just for design teams, it is the foundation for connected, data-driven project delivery. And of course, owners are leading the charge by defining these standards and owning their data. Do not be afraid to try something new. And of course, you are not alone. IMAGINiT is here to help you every step of the way, from developing your standards to selecting and implementing or even automating your technology. We have helped organizations move from chaos to clarity, literally. And it's amazing what happens when your data starts working for you instead of against you. So thank you so much for your time today. We will go ahead and open up for questions live. But if you do think of anything after our session ends, please feel free to contact Sarah Manfroni. Her details are here. She's wonderful. She'll help you out. Lori, any questions from our audience?
Okay, great. Yep, I've got a couple of questions here. So I will start with what is the easiest starting point for improving data connectivity?
Ooh, okay, that's a good question. I would always say to start small. So even if you're setting up Autodesk Docs to get that single file environment, it's going to make a really big difference. And from there, I would build your standards before you layer on additional tools.
That's great. Okay. Kevin has two questions, so I'll do one first and then we'll go for the next one, okay?
Okay.
I have a hospital project that was started over 5 years ago, and the GC has all the project information siloed into a different project management program. How would I pull all that information into the ACC so that my facilities people would then move forward with using these tools?
That's another good question. And the good news is that we do have a tool that is called Pulse, and we're able to connect to really anything with an open API to help you move that kind of information. And even if you were just both using Docs or anything like that, we could certainly solutionize this together. So feel free to get a hold of Sarah and contact me. Let's have a call.
Okay. Question number two. Can a Revit model build outside of the ACC be pulled into, sorry, Kevin. Can a Revit model built outside of the ACC be pulled into it? Question one. Can I add BIM elements after the fact? I'd like to include changes, RFI links, balancing reports, etc. Is it too late for that?
It is never too late. We can certainly do that. Luckily, through Docs, when I pulled that up earlier, one of the things I always like to share with folks is that, you don't even have to have Revit on your machine in order to use Docs as a file viewer. A lot of people would benefit from interacting with a model, but you certainly don't want them changing it. And so if you did pull that Revit file into Docs, you would be able to interact with it. You can place issues and link them through references to submittals and any kind of reports that you have. So it's certainly not too late at all. I do think you need to call me. I think we can help you.
Awesome. Okay. Brendan, do you have any resources for supplying to clients with easy to digest BIM info for those who are unfamiliar but would definitely benefit from a BIM project?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have resources and we could share those with you. I would really recommend shooting Sarah an email and she can connect us and let's talk.
Okay,
Certainly.
great. All right, let's go over here. Um, How can smaller owners or developers apply BIM if they don't model internally?
Ooh, I love this. So good news, you don't need to model. You just need to set your data standards. By, doing that, if you require your design teams to deliver model-based data, that's going to tie to your informational needs. So you don't really need to unless you're interested in doing so.
Awesome. All right, two more, unless we get more come in. Um, can digital handover really integrate with existing FM systems?
Absolutely. Yes. I know it's close to Halloween, but it's no trick or treat. As as long as your data structure is consistent, that's going to be a yes. So that's where defining your asset information requirements early is really going to be a huge payoff.
Okay. And last one here, unless I can see something else coming in. What's one change you would recommend owners to make right away?
Ooh, if I could only pick one thing, it would be to document your information strategy. You want to write down what data you want at exactly each phase and how that should be formatted. So having that drives every downstream success from there. So that would be my number one pick.
Awesome. Okay. So those are the questions. I'm not cutting anybody off. I'm just going to go back and um, put Sarah's email address into the chat. I'm just trying. You can see it here though, right? Can we see it? We can see it there. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Here's the chat. Okay, so if anybody came in just a little bit later, today's presentation has been recorded. We're going to have it on our website in the morning. But if you're looking for a copy of that before you get it emailed to you, please go ahead and email Sarah. Sarah will have access to the file in the morning. So Danielle, that was the first webcast that we got to do with you, and that was awesome. Thank you so much for keeping us engaged with all your, was that SpongeBob? Was what I was trying to keep up.
It was. Oh my goodness, you're so good. But thank you. This was a great opportunity. I love this topic, and I just appreciate you and Sarah. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Again, today's call has been recorded and you'll get a copy emailed to you. If you have trouble accessing it, please feel free to reach out to Sarah. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.